welcome to another episode of Springfield Talks. My name is Ola. I'm super excited to have a very special guest today. I call him the legend of Dubai real estate and one of the most influential trainers, Dr. Anand.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Please, I want to learn as much as I can from you today, but I would love to start talking about market correction because I've been hearing that word from so many investors, especially international.
I'm going to put a slight twist on how I answer that. I think there is one particular type of correction that they are referring to, but there is a second correction that is required. That is in the mentality, the thinking, and the approach of all these investors, including the brokers and the salespeople here. Market correction, essentially people are referring to is the physical correction. They have a belief that with a lot of handovers happening now, prices are going to stabilize, and that's what they are talking about. However, there is another correction that's required. People are approaching the city of the future using the mindset of the past. So
It's true.
yes,
It's true.
And so when we talk about corrections, I see a correction required even here. A correction in the way the investors are thinking and evaluating Dubai in terms of how we within this city are promoting the city as an ambassador and our own industry. So corrections of two kinds. The first one, which I was talking about mindset, will probably happen throughout this session. Let's talk specifically about the one they want to hear, which is the correction. Now, the big problem that we have with the Dubai market today is we have chosen not to align with any established or proven model of the past. We are carving our own future. We are moving into it. We are an engineered city. Now, the challenge that comes up with that is when you are creating your city of the future, there is no past frame of reference that people have so they can make sense of it.
It's 100%, I agree with you.
That is exactly the reason why the people are trying to interpret real estate in particular in Dubai based on previous traditional cycles of property. So they don't realize that Dubai is about the future. You cannot understand Dubai based on the past. Second mistake that they make is they're looking at the industry in isolation. There is a property cycle that people talk of where there is an entry point, there's 3 years boom time, then there is a flattening of that curve. When handovers are starting to come, and then there's that correction that they talk about in the market. But they're looking at an industry in isolation. You never look at an industry in isolation. You look at it in line with the economic goals and agendas of the city and the country.
Absolutely.
Another word for real estate is infrastructure.
Infrastructure,
So
correct.
when we are looking to double our economy in the next 9 years, we are looking at 400 new cities coming into our trade map. This is all in the Dubai Economic Agenda 2033. We've said it 1,000 times before. So when you are looking at this, you're looking at a 70% growth rate of population in the next 9 years, 2.5 million people coming in. You want them to sleep on the streets?
Of course
This
not.
is the problem you're having in London and in New York today, where
Correct.
all the people come in, immigrants, legal or illegal, but there are no homes. There's no city
places.
planning
True.
to take care of them, so the people are on the streets. We don't want to create that here. So for us, it is an economic agenda and the growth model that is driving real estate and its growth as well, because real estate is infrastructure.
Actually, that makes me wonder, Dr. Anand, because I've been asked so many questions. You have so many supplies here in Dubai. And I said, no, we don't have enough supplies. Actually, because of His Highness's vision, there will be double up of population and we need a lot of housing, including townhouse as well as. So how do you comment on that?
See, the first thing I would do is when people make a statement like that, I would simply turn around and say, I can see this is important, Ola. Where exactly did you get that from? You need this disarming question first, okay? People can make statements, they can throw it at you. They've heard it from a lot of people, but they never ever qualified those people and said, Ola, where did you get this from? But you're my friend, so I trust you, so now what your perception has become my reality. And then these guys will throw that in at Dubai and say, oh, there's a lot of oversupply. Just ask them, where exactly did you get that from? I'll tell you what they'll do. Your question is a specific one. Where exactly did you get that from? They'll tell you everybody's talking about it. You already know there is no foundation to it. When everybody's talking about something, that's gossip.
Yeah.
Okay, and you don't build an investment strategy on gossip, you build it on fact and strategy. So understand what is the fact about Dubai and what is the strategy about Dubai. Then real estate makes sense. Just to give a simple example here, part of the Dubai Economic Agenda 2033, we're going to double our economy from 14.6 trillion to 25.2 trillion in the next 9 years. How do you double an economy without having proportionate growth in infrastructure?
People.
We need more offices. We need more business parks. We need more hotels for the visitors to come in. We need residential communities. We need towers. We need malls, hotels, clubs, retail, beaches, parks. All of this is infrastructure. How do you double your economy without having a significant growth in your infrastructure? That's where we sit. So when you start putting the two together, they start making sense because I'm not isolating it. Part of the same agenda, we are opening three new business corridors. Southeast Asia, we know why, China and the others who are coming in. There's Latin America because of BRICS. And then there is Africa, the emerging economic giant. We are opening business corridors into these three places. You expect us to open the corridors but not build the infrastructure?
Absolutely.
We have 70% of population coming, 2.5 million people in the next 9 years. That's 250,000 new residents every year. Where do you want them to sleep? On the streets? We have 400 new cities that are being added into our trade maps. That's 43 cities every single year. On an average, 4 cities every month. Every week, we are signing trade agreements with a new city. The people will come. That is the reason why we are building an airport at 128 billion to handle 260 million passengers.
And it's it is the biggest airport, international airport in the world.
So why are we building that
if there's no vision?
Exactly.
Correct.
So people do not understand the vision of Dubai, and therefore they're questioning this explosive growth and what's happening. So it's really important that they understand the city and its evolution, because real estate is about the future. It's never about the past.
Absolutely.
So you cannot use a past frame of reference to understand and make sense of the future potential. It doesn't work anywhere on the planet like that. Everyone is looking at a property cycle. We don't have a cycle in Dubai anymore. We have a wave. This is the first city on the planet that now has a property wave. And if you ask people get confused. What is a wave? I said exactly. When you do not even know what is a wave, how are you passing judgment on the city?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Because you're looking at the past.
Absolutely.
Secondly, if you look particularly at international investors in most of the countries.
I was about to ask you about international clients. What advice do you give them?
Let's see, the first thing I want to explain here is the nature of the two markets. They're completely different. You go to the US, you go to Australia, you go to the UK, India. Many of these markets are 90 to 94% ready home markets.
Secondary market, correct.
markets.
Coming from Australia, definitely majority, actually 95% of the market, they secondary market. It's
because
already
they're well-established economies. They've been around for years, hundreds of years in some cases, right? We are an emerging market. So we are 72.6% driven by off-plan. So when you come from a market where largely the sale is walking into a ready home, viewing and buying, you cannot be expected. We don't expect you to understand a market where you come and look at sand.
Absolutely.
But again, that's why I'm saying the nature of the two markets are different. Do not apply your understanding of real estate investment and market dynamics in an established 94% ready home market to a 72% off-plan emerging economy. It just does not make sense.
It doesn't make sense. There's no comparison even.
Exactly. This is what is the first thing I would like to tell anyone who's an investor for the first time. There are a few things which I want to tell them, so this answer might be a bit long. Next, I would like to do your research. Do your research. The monkey see, monkey do does not work. Herd mentality doesn't work. Everybody is coming to Dubai. Everybody is buying in Dubai. The highest number of millionaires that are migrating are coming to Dubai. Sydney is taking 2,500 millionaires this year. We're taking 6,700. For everyone choosing Sydney, 3 are choosing Dubai. The US is taking 3,800. So for one choosing the US, 2 are choosing Dubai. Singapore is taking 3,500. So for one going into Singapore, 2 are coming into Dubai. Toronto is taking 3,200. Canada is taking 3,200. So for every 1 millionaire picking one of those countries or cities which are recognized to be the best in the world, 2 are choosing Dubai. They've not lost their marbles. These are the millionaires and the billionaires of the world. And they're bringing families with them and coming. And they're setting up their businesses here. So these people have understood something that a lot of people haven't understood. And it is not the fault of the international investor. We have to take responsibility for it. If we are not ambassadors for our city, and if we are not presenting the correct picture so people understand, there's no way they're going to do it. I spent 5 days in Vietnam, just got off a plane today, and I met with some people from Singapore. One of them who's an evaluator, and he works with big funds. And we talked so much about Dubai. He has changed his whole perception of Dubai in the last 4 days. And I didn't even talk property with him. And he said, the last 4 days, my whole perception has changed. Now that is my responsibility, because who are we talking about? My city, not his.
Yeah.
So if I talk to someone in Sydney or I'm talking to someone in New York, we're talking about my city, not his.
Of
Who do you
course.
expect to have the clear answers? And who do you expect to have the anxiety? We need to understand that. So it is our responsibility
Yeah.
to make sure that people understand that.
Absolutely.
So the first
because
thing,
we're the reflection of Dubai as well, and we love the
100%.
city. I left Australia and I came here because I believed in the city and I believed in His Highness's vision.
so the first thing I would tell them as an investors, do your research. Okay. Even if people are coming, 166,000 millionaires invested 634 billion last year. We are currently sitting at 210,000 transactions with 686 billion. We have smashed the records of last year. We smashed it on the 30th of September with 25% of the year, the best part of the year still in hand. Now, the point is not that just because these 166,000 transactions happened, you don't become the next one. You do not understand the drivers, the motivations, and the thinking behind those 166,000 transactions. Do your research. It's important that you do some of it. Most of them who are millionaires and billionaires have access to people who have access to information. And all the reports on Dubai are public. There's nothing hidden. You don't need a James Bond to go in undercover to figure it out for you. It's there if the intent is there to figure out. The monkey see, monkey do will not work. So you want to protect yourself, don't come in because everyone's coming. Come in because you understand why everyone's coming. Do your research. That's the first thing. Now, what can help you with the research is my second point. Find a brokerage or a developer who have a proven track record and a legacy. You don't want to work with the Mickey Mouses. There can be new agencies in Dubai, very, very good agencies. But it's your job to do the research on them to make sure that you're working with the right agency. So the legacy, longevity are a lot of things that help you understand who are these people you're talking to, and qualify them. Get brutal with them. I don't mind that. Get brutal, get tough with your questions. Only when you are convinced that this agency knows what they're talking about, that's when you need to open up.
Because it's all about trust relationship as well, Dr. Anand, right?
Yes, it is. Now, the third thing I would tell you as an investor to keep in mind is the broker, what I call a proof of life. Proof of life is important for me to know whether I want to associate with them. Chris Voss actually talks about proof of life in his book, Never Split the Difference. Here I'm using it slightly different. Proof of life gives me the reason to believe that this is the guy I need to work with. There are a few things you could do here. One, are they verified brokers? Do they have their RERA IDs, their broker permits with them? Now, it is possible that there can be some new brokers who have just joined who don't have it and who could be genuine, in which case it is very simple. If I'm a new broker and I don't have it, I'm perfectly comfortable getting you into a Zoom from Australia or anywhere else with my director or the owner of the company. So you will understand who we are. It's the ones, so that is proof of life. Everyone understands a new person, there's a bit of time before the paperwork gets in order, but there is a legacy of an agency behind them. The people I'm talking to are the ones who are recognized as the industry ambassadors. So proof of life is there. The second proof of life is, again, when these people sit with you, present options to you, give you the numbers, the data, etc., ask for the proof. Can you send me the report from where you got that? How exactly did you tell me that this is the amount I can get if I do an early exit in the market? Don't just take it because someone is saying that's proof of life. I need to check, okay, you are verified because the company is backing you. Or you may have your RERA ID. That doesn't necessarily qualify you to be the best on knowledge. So I have to ask you, where exactly did you get that number from? Third, when they make promises to you, ask them to give it to you in writing. This is the strongest proof of life you can take because I'm sorry, honey attracts flies. There are many brokers who just to close a deal under pressure because they don't have salaries also or they just don't care. They are going to present any information to you. So tell them to give it to you in writing. And by writing, I don't mean a WhatsApp. I mean, send it to me.
Via email.
You work with ABC Real Estate. Send it to me on an official email. These last 5 points that you told me, send it to me. If they were true, they will send it. If you ask me anything and I'm talking to you, I will send you an email. So the moment they don't send it, there's no proof of life.
There's no proof of life.
So this is what I mean with the broker or even the salesperson from the developer for that matter. Yes, this community will give you this. Give me proof of life. Then the fourth thing is every time you consider an opportunity, because most of these people are looking at an investment to start with because they're living outside. So always look at the entry, the holding period and the exit. Very important. Numbers are attractive in Dubai. But a lot of time people will talk to you more about the entry point. They'll tell you right now market is at this. This is what you can make. This is the this is how much
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Is it true? Yes. But it's true in certain communities at certain periods in time. So if I take a community that's a huge mega community that has just been launched and I tell them the average increase per year is this much. So if you're exiting in 3 years, roughly around this X amount is what you're going to make. Not true. Because the average that you're quoting today is an average for an established city from 42 established communities.
Community.
That's how it is calculated by the data platforms here.
Statistics,
42 developed communities. So there's a new community coming. Will it be good? Definitely. Will it give great returns? No question about it. But not now. 8 years, 10 years in the future.
True.
So if I take a market average from established 42 companies and then tell you within 3 years you can exit, within 3 years, probably that tower or that cluster, sub-community is ready within the larger development. But the school hasn't opened yet. There is still
The
no
shopping
hospital.
mall hasn't
There is
opened
no
yet.
mall. There is
Yeah.
the park. I can just see some kind of construction equipment going in there. I'm not bringing my family to live in the middle of sand.
Of course,
So your
yeah.
exit is going for a toss. The moment your exit is going for a toss, the price has to come down. There goes your appreciation. So you need to check on this. When a person is actually providing something to you, they should be discussing with you the entry strategy, the holding strategy. If you are very clear, 36 months, I want to get out of this market, what is the strategy here and which is the community I have to get into? And what is the exit strategy? How am I supposed to exit on this? So that is very, very important.
Very important.
So as an investor, it's your responsibility, it's your money. You
Yeah.
need to ask all these three. Then be careful of market averages and numbers. They're only averages. Now, an average means some communities
That's
are...
a very good point,
Yes.
actually.
But I mean, I'll give a classic example.
Yeah,
If you look at the
would be great if you give us an example.
If you look at the property monitor report, October end, now November 1 will be out now. October end, the average increase in price month on month was 1.73.
Correct.
Average quarter increase was
1.74.
5.44 and average year on year increase was 17.22. So if I take a quarter increase of 5.44 and I multiply that times 4 quarters and I take an average, I'm going to 21.6%. So, but that's an average. Is it possible in certain communities? Of course, that's how you get the average. There are some who are above and there are some
Someone
who are below.
lower, yeah.
So when I come to you with an average, but I'm suggesting a community to you that is below average, this is not happening.
Wow.
Now, the only reason I'm coming with a community that is below average is you want a small entry point.
Yeah.
You don't want to pay the price for premium location. You want a plan which is going over 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And so you're going to go a little bit out and you might work with the smaller developers. You will not get that kind of appreciation. So market numbers are indicative numbers, but they are averages. So I need to tell you, Ola, if you are telling me that Dubai Marina works for me, or say a Dubai Hills Estate or a Damak Islands, whatever it may be. If these are working for me, I need you to show me what is the projected percentages in this community or the one next to that over the next 5 years. Do not throw a market average at me. Throw a community average or a location average, then we're starting to make sense. Secondly, this average is at the current point of readiness of the community. This new community, will it be at this current point of readiness that we have here 3 years from now? If it is not, I'm sorry, that's not coming. That number is not coming. So entry, holding and exit is important. Be careful of the numbers. They are market averages. So Dubai performing really well. Within Dubai, some communities smashing it. Some still finding their place in there. Where are you coming in? This is very important.
That's actually a very important question, especially because some of the investors, they ask me about, especially the exit. How much money I'm going to make? It's always that question. How much money I'm going to make?
Yeah, the answer is connected to 10,000 things.
Yeah.
The first thing is the readiness of the community and the lifestyle is connected with it. So I cannot throw an average at you at this current rate, you will get this. No. How is that community in terms of readiness? So that is one thing. So if you're looking, it's a good question for them to ask, how much will I make it exit? But we have to tell them that, give them worst case scenario. Let's assume nothing develops in that area. You're going to make 5 to 7%. Take the worst case scenario. And if it is still a good one for you, you're a happy camper because you're going to make more than that.
Yeah.
But what we tend to do is present the best case scenario. But the best case scenario is
To wait until the
it's
community
a
is
market-wide
finished.
scenario as well. It is not specific to that area. And this is where sometimes as an investor, our eyes light up because we want the numbers.
Yeah.
And so salespeople, unfortunately, sometimes lack the courage to tell you, hold on a second. You are not going to make that kind of return in this community now. But if you're willing to hold it for 8 years, you will absolutely kill it with this investment. They're not willing to do that. Other advice I would give you is, we are one of the best markets in the world. There's 50,000 options I can give you. You need to be very clear. Your responsibility as an investor is be truthful and as clear as possible
And
as
transparent.
comprehensive about what exactly you're looking for. Give the broker the chance to help you. When you give them minimum information, then they are going to throw so many things at you and you will never be able to make a decision, because we have a launch every 18 hours in Dubai.
Absolutely. There's so many options out there as well. And that's another question I get from also my clients. I'm confused. Who should I go with? What developer? What community?
Let me ask you a question here for this. I actually use this with my investors. Let's say you decide to buy a watch. Want to buy a, I don't know. Let's say let's take a Rolex. You want to buy a Rolex. You go into one of these large galleries. Now they're selling 20 different brands there. You're not confused when you go in there because you know exactly what you want. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about here. You're the investor. You know what you want. I want to be in the market for 5 years. I want to put a minimum of 2 million and I want to be able to exit having X amount of return in the market. I need to have a post-annual plan. I'm looking for a community that gives me 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5.
True.
Those you need to be absolutely clear about. Once you're clear about all of that, a lot of these options have disappeared already.
Yeah, true.
Secondly, if you've done your research, you've done the legacy and the proof of life with the broker, I don't need to keep telling that broker, show me one more, show me another one. They will give you 2, at best 3.
3 options maximum, true.
Because we already know that from what you told us, these 3 are ticking every box for you. 1. Secondly, you know who I am. You've seen what I'm doing in the market. This is why people work with me. This is where you're going to make your money based on what you're. If your requirement changes, it could change. But we are clear. Other advice I'd give them, just 2 more advices. I think there's a lot already for them here. Is get everything in writing. Get every single thing in writing
via email.
Via email, official email, no Gmail IDs.
Yeah.
Okay. It has to be official.
Company email.
Company email ID. And I'm telling you, you'll see how quickly 70% to 80% of the brokers will back away from what they just said.
Wow.
Now that is your responsibility, because whose money is it?
It's the investor's money. Absolutely.
So there is due diligence from your side that you have to do.
Yeah.
The part of that due diligence is the legacy searching, is the proof of life, is the research. Once you have done that, then you can maybe lower your guard a bit, because I know the person I'm working with is making sense. And the last thing that I would like to put in here, and I'm not sure your investors would like to hear it, okay? And I would request that you do not cut this out. It has to be put out there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
For sure.
This is an industry where we want everyone to benefit, which is our investors, but as well as our ambassadors in the industry, right? Professionalism is a coin that has 2 sides to it. On one side, you come in as an investor, you expect a hard-working broker who sacrifices on his weekends and family, does everything for you, and then you don't want to pay. You ask for a kickback, or you ask for, I need a discount, or you bypass them and go directly to developers. Okay, I'm very clear about this, and with all respect to everybody, if you're that kind of investor, stay out of Dubai. We don't want you. Because that's what I say. If you're that kind of a broker who's the honey that attracts flies, you need to be out of the market.
Yeah.
Professionalism is a coin that has 2 sides to it. Okay, if you expect us to respect you as investors and welcome you into our city, we expect the same from you. And I don't think we are asking for anything that is not normal.
I really respect that. And thank you so much for mentioning that, because we honestly speaking, we the agents, we work very hard, and people don't notice that how hard we work during the weekends, we sacrifice our times. Like for me, I've left all my family back home because I believed in the city and I really want to work as a very successful agent as well.
And an investor who's seeking to make some extra money by cutting that 1% from you needs to keep his money at home with him. We don't want them.
Yeah. No, I 100% respect that. On another note, I want to ask you another question as well. For an investor, like let's say I'm an investor, what do you suggest? Should I invest in I'm not going to say any developer or anything, but what do you think the market at the moment? Is it better to invest in villa community or a beachfront community or a marina, downtown? What do you suggest at the moment, at the current economical
Okay.
moment?
At the moment, we are short in every single area.
Yeah.
It's not just about the area. I think to answer the question, which community if first is wrong. First, I need to understand how much do you plan to put on the table
Yeah.
for the investment.
Makes sense.
Forget the communities, forget the areas. How much are you planning to invest? One. Second thing is how long do you plan to stay in this investment? Two. Third, what is the intent of coming in? Are you planning a second home for yourself? Is it an investment where you want to go into long-term leases, or do you prefer holiday homes that give you higher returns? Because certain areas more attractive for holiday home, certain areas more attractive for long-term lease. Or are you just looking to exit through a resale? So let's be clear about those first. The area.
What's the investment goal?
Yes, the area and the type of opportunity shows up after that. We don't put the horse before the cart. So the cart before the horse. I need to know what you're looking for. Dubai as a market is offering opportunities to everybody on the planet. But I can't come to you with everything. Let me understand who you are. What is your investment appetite? Are you the opportunity investor type, early mover kind of people who come in on lowest price points, softest payment plans, highest exit opportunities? Or are you the kind of guy who wants to wait? I need to see 70% structure is come up. So I know the escrow has got the cash, project will complete. I know I'll pay more.
Yeah.
I know my returns are less. My plan is more aggressive. But who are you?
Yeah.
Based on that, it would come up. To give you some numbers that will help in the answer, let's look at the current transaction trends. If you look at last month, 94.5% of the transactions were residential transactions. Okay, from that,
Wow.
83.5% was apartments.
Amazing.
Which does not mean that an apartment is more in demand than a townhouse or a
Townhouse.
villa. It's just that the townhouses and villas have not had inventory in the market, which is why in the last few months you're seeing a lot more coming out in these areas as launches. Secondly, when developers are launching inventory, they're launching it based on the Dubai economic agenda, the 2033 agenda, the 2.5 million people who are coming into the city. Now, when you look at this average of 250,000 new residents every year, bulk of them would come into apartments. Many of them are first-time breadwinners coming in here. They'll probably bring families to join them later or find someone here and start a family. So they will go for the bigger sized apartments or the townhouses and villas later. So the millionaires of the world who are coming in here will go for the mansions and things like that. But that's a very small percentage. This year, we're expecting 6,700 millionaires to have come into our city, especially, even including our country. But we're expecting 250,000 people to come. So as you can see, the people who want the high-end mansions, very much lower. And there is a shortage in that area also. So we have to take care of these. So 94.5% transactions are residential, 1.5% is commercial offices, around 1.06% has been hotel apartments, and 0.91% has been lands, plots.
Plots of lands.
That's what's been happening. The correction question, which we actually started on,
with the,
we need to actually still complete that because I talked about 2 corrections. Okay. There's no correction for the next 4 to 5 years. People said the correction will come. They said it in 2021. It didn't come.
It didn't come. True.
They said it in 2022. It didn't come. They said it in 2023.
Actually, we're growing even more.
It didn't come. They said it in 24. It didn't come. And we are breaking every year. Our last 4 years have been record-breaking years. This year is the biggest ever year in real estate history. On 30th of September, we smashed last year's records in just 75% of this year.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, if people think there is a correction coming, I've seen people posting on there. Ask them, what exactly are you basing it on? They can base it only on one thing. Past history.
Yeah, past history as well.
Past history.
Yeah.
But this is not a city of the past. They will tell you, look at what happened in 2014. Which was the previous peak, and then there was a correction. The Dubai of today is not the Dubai of 2014. We never had golden visas in 2014.
True.
We never had an economic agenda to double our economy. We never had the urban master plan. We never had the plan in place then to increase the population by 70%. We were not opening trade agreements with 400 cities. We were not opening 3 logistics corridors, business corridors, not logistic. We never had all of that. You cannot go 10 years into the future, look at that city and that market, and then you bring that market performance into today, but you do not take into account the city that Dubai is today. It just does not make any
It
sense.
doesn't make any sense.
There is
True.
no correction. People can wait. Those who were waiting in 2020 because they said it's COVID, the world is still shut down, they're paying 87% more today. People cannot understand it because they don't look at the city that is growing consistently. Look at our economy. We are the most stable economy in the world, today. Last year we were number 2 behind Switzerland, the US World and News reports.
Yeah.
We're number 1 now.
Number 1 now,
The
true.
Moody report, which came out 2 weeks ago, they looked at the GDP or the emerging growth rate for 23 of the emerging economies. And we have the fastest growing GDP out of 23 countries coming up. Projection is at 4.8% for next year. Saudi Arabia comes in at 4.7, Egypt comes in at 4. The world average is 3.2. So how,
that's good to know, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so how, and if anybody wants, this is the Moody report that came out 10 days ago. Anybody can fact check it.
Yeah.
So again, where people, when they separate real estate from us, they cannot understand. They're expecting a correction. Think logically in a traditional, and this will help the investors in Australia.
Making the decision as well. Yeah.
Everybody is doing it based on a cycle. Now, in a typical cycle, you have 2 to 3 years of a bull run. Okay, there's lots of increase. It's coming in. Then 3 years later, some of those units are starting to hand over. So people will tend to wait, and developers will hold back new inventory. They will not come out with new launches because they are going to be competing against ready units which their own buyers bought much cheaper 3 years later. So no one comes out with new inventory. That is the traditional cycle which goes in the curve, the bell curve.
What you've mentioned is the wave.
We have the wave.
Yeah.
We're going upwards.
Yeah.
Look at what's happening in the market now. Are handovers taking place? Absolutely.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are launches taking place? Yes. But that itself breaks the old model, because when handovers start, launches should slow down. Launches are getting faster and faster.
And it's sold out like in no time.
3 hours, 4 hours.
Units, people don't believe me. I tell them communities get sold, I swear to God, within 2-3 hours.
What they need to understand here is how, as a community, we are developing for the future, because they can't get it. It's their frame of reference is old. So they say, I don't get it. So many units are coming into the market. Yes, those units are going to be absorbed in the next 3 to 4 years. But in the next 3 to 4 years, we have an additional 1 million coming into the city. Of these units in the market that are being handed over, there are many residents within the city who are moving from renting to buying. They're going to pick up a big chunk from that. Holiday home companies are already talking to investors 6 months before handover, saying, let's make an agreement with you and we will give you returns which is nearly 30% higher than a normal long-term lease in the market. So the units are not coming out to take care of the new people in the market. So you have 1 million people coming in just the next 4 years.
Wow.
So the launches for people, what they don't understand is because they don't know the agenda. In their mind, today, if Dubai stopped all launches and continued with handovers, they're comfortable. Because they'll say, hey, this is how markets work around the world. This is what we know, that now launches are happening. It makes sense. There's nothing new coming. But what they fail to understand, that what is coming out now for the next 3 years or 4 years is to take care of the existing requirement. Now, I have 1 million people coming into the city in the next 4 years. What do you want me to do? Wait for 4 years, let all the ready units be absorbed, then launch, which will take another 3 to 4 years to develop.
Yeah.
And 1 million more will come. So I'll have 2 million people on the streets. The launches of today
We are able to cater for the future.
29 to 32.
Yeah.
And that's in line with the economic agenda. So people don't understand that. Don't look at a launch of today as an opportunity for a homeowner to buy today. The homeowner's opportunity is in the handovers. This is investors coming in now, preparing for the new homeowners from 29 plus.
Yeah, for the future, yeah.
So they don't get the model. That's why it's a way, for the first time in the history of the world, launches and handovers happening at the same time. We had 100,000 units that were launched in just the first 10 months of this year. That's an average of 10,000 units a month, 2,500 new units every single week. Are we suggesting that these developers with 20, 24 years intelligence and experience here don't know what they're doing?
Yeah.
October alone had 48 launches with 15,000 units. November and December is anticipated to close out at 35,000 units, 17,500 units each month. More than 4,200 units a week.
Wow.
We're closing out this year with 135,000 launches. But these 135,000 launches are to take care of about 600,000 people
Are they
4
coming in
years
the
from
future?
now.
Yeah.
That's what people need to understand.
Yeah. And it will be more next year as well, more launches next
There
year.
is. Like I
Huge.
mentioned, we had 48 launches in October.
Yeah.
343 launches have happened this year in the first 10 months. So we're averaging 34 to 35 launches a month. 250 are in various stages of planning. I'm talking launches, not deliveries.
Wow.
That is because we are catering for the future.
Future.
We have an airport that's going to bring 260 million people a year. In terms of correction, I think the only correction that we should be looking at is how you think. As a broker
and change your mindset as an investor
yes.
as well.
So that correction is required.
Yeah. Okay, Dr. Anand, in terms of the infrastructure, what can you tell us a little bit more about the government plan and vision in the future, especially for international clients?
Okay. When you are building the number one economy on the planet and doubling literally everything, including foreign direct investments, it is critical that infrastructure is in place to support it. One of that we have already seen is real estate. Now, a month and a half ago, Sheikh Mohammed announced the biggest ever budget for the next 3 years in the history of Dubai. And it's split over 3 years, 272 billion. Now let's look at what is being done in just 1 year. In the next year, of that 272 billion, 86.26 billion is being put into infrastructure development. Now, how is that being broken down? 46% of that is the actual physical infrastructure required to build your city. So it is going to be things like roads and highways, flyovers, the big airport that is coming up, the community amenities, all those sort of things, water, electricity, the port expansions, all of these to be able to handle. We need cement, glass, steel, iron to come in large volumes. Are we ready for these things? So 46%, that means nearly 50% of the development budget next year is only the infrastructure to support the growth plan. 30% is to support the social agendas. Because part of this city of the future is not just the Dubai Economic Agenda 2033, is the Dubai Social Agenda 2033. Well, there is the Quality of Life Strategy 2033. There is We the UAE 2031. I'm naming these because any serious investor can check these out and read about it. There's the National Investment Strategy 2031. There's the Dubai Urban Master Plan 2040. So with so many plans in place, 50% of the allocation has gone into infrastructure, 30% has gone into the social agendas so that when people come here, they can have the best quality of life on the planet. 6% is being allocated into innovation, transparency for government practices. And 18% is being put into law, security, justice, and safety. Why? We are already one of the safest cities in the world. When you expect a 70% increase in population, we do know that every person coming in might not necessarily have the right intent, but we are preparing our city to protect our people. And that's why 18% of the budget of next year is going into beefing up the justice, security, and emergency response systems so that even before these people come in, we are ready for them.
Wow.
So that's,
how would you say no to all this?
Exactly. So that's
this no-brainer.
We have learned from the other cities and seen what they did not do. So that is, we are talking in terms of how the infrastructure is being created. Financial infrastructures. Last year in Ras Al Khaimah, you had RACDAO, Digital Assets Oasis, the first digital asset or online monies and bitcoins and cryptos, the first free zone in the world was set up in RAC. We have VARA in Dubai operating out of DIFC, Virtual Asset Regulatory Authority, with the casinos coming in, with more and more of the world going into online transactions with money, digital currencies. A forward-thinking city has to prepare for that being the economic exchange medium of the future. And we have set up a free zone already last year for these kind of things. So we are preparing for the new wave of currencies that will drive and control the world economies. So when we talk in terms of infra, you got the airports coming up. Now, just about 3 weeks ago, Sheikh Mohammed announced a 3.7 billion expansion into the inner road plan. 635 kilometers of inner roads are being created in 12 communities that are expected to see a 30 to 80% increase in urbanization, populations coming in. In the next 4 years. So we are going to put in the next 4 years internal roads 635 kilometers, 3.7 billion is put for that. There is the 16 billion main road and highway plans where we're looking at 22 areas and highways that are going to be developed further to handle the traffic. If you look at last year alone in Dubai, we had 10% new vehicle registrations. We're not talking renewals. 10% new.
New ones, yeah.
World average is 2%.
Wow.
Statista.com, that's the source of the information.
That tells us a lot.
Yeah, 5 times.
5 times more.
Any other city on the planet. And if someone still tells me, Wallah, this is not the place to be, they have no idea what they're talking about.
I agree.
So in terms of infrastructure, we understand it and everything is being mobilized for that because the government knows that we want to make it as simple and as easy as possible. Look at the free zones. Look at the opportunities to set up companies and businesses. We're making everything so easy and simple in this part of the world. One thing I would like to say here is the vision of Dubai is to be number one in everything we do. Because people's concerns are about taxes coming up, about the population, the crowd control, the traffic situations, the type of communities. They're looking at so many different things, safety, etc. Dubai's vision is to be the best in the world. You can be sure about one thing. In everything that we do as a city, when Sheikh Mohammed and his committee sit together, they're not just planning what do we need now in our city. That is, of course, part of the discussion. Okay, so we need this. How can we make this the best in the world in Dubai?
Yeah.
So this is the thinking in every new thing. When we said we need a bigger airport, yes, but no. How can we build the biggest and the best airport in the world? We brought in a 9% corporate tax structure. How can our tax structure be the best or among the best in the world? How do you become the best in the world? It's very simple. In every single area that you are developing in, you aim to be the best in that area. So the message I would like to give here to the investors is whatever is coming up as part of Dubai's development is not just development and infrastructure. It will be the best in the world in each of those areas.
Yeah.
Education, healthcare, everything, safety.
Yeah.
This is what you need to understand because I don't see this intent and approach in any other city.
100%.
Yeah.
I agree. This is actually taking me to the next question about the frame of reference.
Okay.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, this is a bit of psychology in this.
Yeah.
All humans on the planet, to understand anything, either we need to have an awareness of it, or we should have had an experience of it, or we've been able to go through a study of it, even if we haven't experienced it. Now, usually our frames of reference are from the past. Something we have seen, something we have experienced, or something we heard about. And it's usually about the past. This is the first challenge. So all our frames of reference so that we can relate to something come from the past. So we do this and then we try to understand the city of the future based on the past. The second problem with frames of reference, and everyone has it, including you and me, is the frame is unconscious. So it's happening all the time without us even realizing it. So what's happening is we are unconsciously evaluating something against what we already know and it's not fitting. Recently, I was at an event, really.io. We did an ambassador program and I had this Canadian gentleman who came. He's got a team. He has about 12 people now. He's expanding, all from Canada. And they were all at the event and they came to me and he said, Doc, what would you tell my people? One thing that you tell them. I said, firstly, leave Canada where it is.
Yeah.
You're not in Dubai. So I'm telling you, Ola, leave Australia where it is.
Yeah.
When in Rome, you do as the Romans do.
Yeah.
Canada is not number one on the planet today.
It's not.
Nowhere
Indeed,
at the top in real estate. Australia is not there. So how are you trying to evaluate the number one city in performance based on number 7, number 8 or number 22?
100%.
So this is what our frame does and it's unconscious because my comfort is in my unconscious pattern. So there I'm comfortable. This new thing you're talking about, I'm nervous. I myself cannot explain to you why I'm nervous. So that's where we as ambassadors for Dubai and real estate must understand. So how do you, the challenge that we have then is to help people see the scale of what we are doing and to use a frame of reference and then they begin. So we show the future against something that they can relate to and then people say, wow. I'll give you a couple of examples just to help people understand. Actually, I used them in June and July when I was in Singapore. Now, when you go 6,000 kilometers away to Singapore, what's the frame of reference for the Singaporeans? Singapore. or neighboring Asian countries.
It's nearby countries, yeah.
Now I'm talking 6,000 kilometers away to a city that they've never been to. A too good to be true scenario that emerged in just 24 years. How do you do this in 24 years? So for them to understand, if you go and tell them that we are building the biggest airport in the world, 128 billion, it doesn't mean anything to them. So here's what I did with them. I'm only giving this as an example to help you understand frame of reference. I'll do this and I'll give you one or two more just to help your investors understand. And this is also for the brokers who listen in to understand frame of reference. I wanted to explain to them the sheer scale of the airport that we have in Dubai. How do you do that? You can't talk from Dubai perspective. You have to talk from Singapore. So I talked to Changi Airport. And here's what I said. See, and at the end of the day, Changi is an amazing airport. It was number one at one point in the world. So I told them, Changi is one of the best airports in the world. You have 4 terminals, 117 gates. You have 2 parallel runways. You have a handling capacity of 89 million. Last year, 58.5 million people walked through your gates. Next year, you're starting work on Terminal 5. By 2030, it will be ready. You will add an additional runway. You will add 100 more gates, and you will take your handling capacity up to 130 million. The moment I said that, the person I was talking to, who was a head of investments from a bank looking after 14 countries, he said, you know Singapore better than us. But you see what happened? I went onto his side and connected. After I told him that, I said the Dubai airport will have 400 gates. Now he suddenly understood with our expansion, in the next 5 years, we will be at 217 gates. Dubai is going to have 400 gates. You will handle
double.
You will handle 130 million passengers. We will take in 260 million every year. 5 parallel runways. Now, the size of our airport, this is where it really hit them. The size of our airport is 70 square kilometers. Singapore as a country is 734 square kilometers. 10% of the size of your country is the size of the airport. You see what happens now when you build a frame of reference. I talked about the Dubai Reef project because we are doing very aggressive waterfront developments which affects the life forms, ocean life forms. So corals are important. We have the Dubai Reef project which was inaugurated by Sheikh Mohammed. 634 square kilometers of coral reefs are coming up off the coast of Dubai. I said Singapore is 734 square kilometers. If you take 88% of your country and transform it into a coral farm, that's how big our reefs are going to become off the coast of Dubai. We are building 168 square kilometers for economic and manufacturing activity. That is 22% of the size of your country.
Wow, that's mind-blowing.
Exactly.
That's mind-blowing.
This is what frames of reference do. So for the brokers who are listening into this also, are you going into the UK? Get your UK numbers with you.
Yeah.
If you go to meet a UK investor and if you first talk UK, they'll say, man, this guy knows what he's talking about. Don't throw Dubai at them. You're going to work with Canada, get Canada numbers in your head. Do India, get India in your head. And that's how you should do it.
Wow, that's amazing. I know you're a fan of Dubai and probably we all are ambassadors of Dubai because we love that city so much. But what's the best second option, let's say, for investment? I'm talking about UAE, obviously.
Okay. I am a fan of the UAE. Okay? But because I live in Dubai, this has been home to me for 31 years. I do speak about Dubai. And again, not because of a bias. The sheer volume of activities, the sheer positioning of brand Dubai has caught the imagination of the world. That is the reason why we are sitting at the top today. But when you look at RAC, again, brilliant opportunity.
Yeah.
There's been a 60 to 70% jump in prices in just the last 3.5 years in that area, which is a clear indicator that a lot of investors are very attracted, and most of this driven purely by the casino.
By the casino, true.
Now the Al Majan Islands and the waterfront lifestyles are iconic. You got the big brands going in there. You got Mickey Beach, you got the Emars, and you got so many other players going in there with some excellent opportunities. In addition, now you've got RAC Central coming up, which is being compared to the DIFC, frame of reference. Yes. So that is also a super excellent opportunity. But if you actually look at RAC is now just starting the development. Where Dubai was 20 years ago, RAC is there. So we can see RAC becoming an amazing opportunity for the future. And they're our brothers next door. We are happy for them.
Yeah.
Now, but at this point in time, if you look at the islands and the casino and you step away from that, RAC Central is just coming into the news. But apart from that, there's not much yet. The industries that have benefited so far are real estate, tourism, and business opportunities. The free zones have actually benefited a lot, and we see a lot more coming up there, and we want them to do well. What I see happening in the future is the same relationship that is shared with Hong Kong and Macau is what is going to come between Dubai and RAC. You see, when you travel for commercial gaming, gambling, etc., you don't spend all your time in that area. So if people go to Hong Kong, where there's just so much more to do, and they'll hydrofoil it by boat, or just take a helicopter and go into Macau, and they'll spend a couple of days there and do gambling, because there's nothing to see. There's just a broken church, only the front of the church. There's nothing else on the island. So people would go for that experience, for the gaming experience, and then they come back and enjoy the lifestyle in Hong Kong. Some of them just go mid-morning and come back late evening. So we will see the same thing happening a lot between Dubai and Ras Al Khaimah, because there's so much more to do here. In fact, every tourist who's been normally coming to Dubai is probably going to add 2 extra days into their regular routine, and those 2 days will be in RAC.
It's true, because the beach, the nature, it's beautiful in RAC.
Yeah, so both of them, very, very good opportunity. But it will still take some time for Ras Al Khaimah to develop that kind of brands. But they will benefit from Dubai, and Dubai will also see some benefits from there. It's the type of investors also who will start coming in will become very different. If you look in Asia, if you go to Macau, they're spending $1 million a day. Now, someone who's spending $1 million a day just on commercial gaming, imagine what kind of homes and opportunities they would look for here. So there is a massive benefit going forward.
And massive growth, definitely.
Massive growth. And once the casinos in the future get announced for Abu Dhabi, it will come.
It will come.
It will come.
Indeed.
That's when you will see again a huge amount of investment come into, because these casinos are actually supporting and growing multiple new industries as well. So we just see the future extremely bright for us.
Absolutely.
Any investor who's not in today is losing. Simple.
I agree with you. Actually, this is the best time to invest. Probably even the near future, it's probably going to be impossible for some people.
Yeah, maybe not impossible. The entry points are going to change because of the sheer demand. So the strategy changes.
Yeah.
You wouldn't come 2 years from now and buy something that was launched 4 years ago.
True.
Because you are at a disadvantage, because everyone who bought early is going to cut you out on price when it's resale, or even in rents. They can always undercut you and make double what you're making. But you could come in even 2 years later, or you could come now into Dubai or RAC, but take a new entry point.
Yeah.
Because anyone in that new entry point has the same advantage as you.
Yeah.
So this the whole 100%. Strategy and the advising changes.
100%. Thank you so much, Dr. Anand, for coming today. It was a pleasure talking to you.
It was a pleasure actually having this conversation.
Yeah, and I look forward to do more podcasts with you. And I'm sure that my international investors would learn so much today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.